Well, happy May 1st, everybody. How are you doing? Did you know that on May 1st, for the last, almost every year for the last 7 years of my career, I was covering May Day protests, which often turned into riots as the sun set. And that was in part where I came into contact with the Pacific Northwest's most infamous group, Antifa. So today I am sitting on 20 acres in the middle of nowhere. It's a gorgeous sunny day. I don't hear any flashbangs. I'm not tearing up from tear gas. I am not running with somebody chasing my camera. I am at peace and life is good. And I figured I would celebrate with you as we finished up Anti-Authoritarianism April. Many of you know that I demonetized my channel on purpose to accomplish a couple things. The first was to protest speech suppression on YouTube. But the second was to see what would happen with my channel. Would it be a good move or a bad move? Would people go to the other platforms, which are less likely to kick me off? What would happen to the revenue? We're going to discuss all of these things. The first thing I would like to tell you, oh yeah, somebody has said, check the bling. I would like to, it's probably this. Maybe that's what we're talking about. This is a little horsey with a little girl riding on it that my grandmom used to wear when she would go to all of my horse shows. And she gave me this before she passed. So Ruth Morrow, thank you for the necklace. I'm wearing it proudly now on YouTube. She did not know what YouTube was before she died, and I'm glad for that because I think she probably would have died a lot earlier if she knew about YouTube. Okay, here's the big reveal, everyone. You ready for this one? This is the message that YouTube gave me about how April went. I kind of want to see if you, in the chat before I show you, do you think there was a net positive or a net negative? Net positive or net negative? Let's just put either a plus or a minus or a negative or a positive in the chat so I can see what everyone is thinking before I show you what YouTube thought about my decision, because they sent me a little message. It's in my analytics. Just tell her YouTube is where they keep the kitten videos. Yeah. Okay, we have positive, okay, negative, negative, positive, negative, 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 flat, positive, 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 positive subscribers, positive, positive, negative, positive, negative. Okay, I'm not keeping count. I don't know if somebody else is, but it seems like we have a mixed bag here. All right, well, here we go. April, your hard work paid off. Your channel got more subscriptions because your videos were great at convincing people to subscribe. Meanwhile, views were up and your channel earned around what it usually does. Well, hang on to your hats, everyone. What is going on here? Now, I will qualify this by saying, I actually did not make what I normally make. YouTube's kind of lying there. I'm not really sure why they're saying that. Maybe because they're saying around what it usually does. I made about half of the lower months of what my channel was seeing the last couple of months. We did talk when I made the decision to demonetize that I had seen kind of some stagnation with the viewers and the subscription count and the ad revenue and all that stuff. And I thought, you know what, this is another reason why not? I'm just going to go direct to subscriber and see what happens. And actually, thank you, Bob, for your generous super chat. Net negative. If you're not making them money, they don't recommend you. See, maybe you should have. Well, I'm glad you gave me the super chat, but maybe you should have waited, because here's the thing. What carried me financially through April on YouTube was almost entirely super chats. I checked out the numbers. I'm not going to show you all the analytics on that because there's some private information in there. I don't feel like the entire world knowing, but basically 95% of the revenue came from super chats. And then, well, maybe a little bit less than that. Let's put it at maybe 85% came from super chats. And then the rest came from basically if there were YouTube subscriptions and then a minimal amount of ads. I didn't see ads running on any of my videos, so I'm not quite sure where the ad revenue came. But YouTube seems to think it was a good decision. Now, I don't know if YouTube's happy that I just made the choice for them, that they didn't have to demonetize my channel and then see more of my videos about how they demonetize my videos. Maybe they would prefer that I stay demonetized. What I want to show you next is what happened outside of YouTube. And then we'll go back and talk about YouTube in a second. All right. But I want to show you a couple other screens to give you kind of an idea of what happens, because I also wanted to do this video to show people what if you're somebody, say you just stumble across my channel and you have no idea what I do, what happens if you decide to demonetize, or if you get demonetized, if it's not your choice, because this was of my choosing at this point. I figured this would be a good educational opportunity. Flynn asks, but what was the growth rate? Maybe you could have added on subscribers regardless. It's possible. I'm going to show you the growth rate in a second. But the first thing I want to show you are the other sites. Now, what I don't quite know about YouTube is clearly I really do think at the beginning of the month, it was not putting me in front of a ton of people, but it wasn't putting me in front of a ton of people before that. So I really have a hard time knowing. One thing I've thought about doing, and I'd like to know your opinion, because I was going to end with asking, what should I do now? Now that it's May, what should I do? Should I go back to being monetized? Should I keep it demonetized? What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. YouTube takes 30% of your donation via super chat. This is never declared. This is true. They do. And I don't know if what they're showing me in the revenue is what I'm going to gross, or if that's the gross without their having taken out the 30%, or if that's total that I'm going to earn. Now, if they're going to take 30% off of that, then I made significantly less than I would normally make on YouTube. And I don't make a ton on YouTube, but I make enough for it to be worth the gear and the time and stuff like that. Definitely not to just do YouTube full time, but let's go to, everyone's saying 30%. Ouch. Yeah, it's a lot of money. That's why I really appreciate when people give super chats, but it should be something we should all declare, that you are giving 30% of that money to YouTube. All right. Here's the next thing we're going to talk about. Okay. This is my locals profile. Now, if you have not gone to locals.com/Allison Morrow, you should go there. Or you could go to ROKFIN, or you could go to ODYSEE. This has been one of my favorite parts about having demonetized my channel, is that it kicked me in the pants to go elsewhere. And it really helped on locals. Now, I think this is in part because I was on Viva and Barnes Wednesday sidebar, and Barnes loves to promote locals. And so he promoted locals, and because they're big on locals, and they've been kind enough to give me shout outs on their shows. They have 10,000 people that watch them typically on their live Sunday shows. My locals has grown significantly. I think I went into April with several hundred locals followers, and now I'm at 2,100 locals followers. Now, I don't know. See, these are some of my posts. What do you guys think about this merch, by the way? This is the nice thing about being on locals, is that it's kind of like Facebook meets YouTube. And so you can talk with each other about things, and you can talk to me about things, and you don't just have, it's not just like video and, comment section and stuff on YouTube. You can post things like this. What should I have for my merch? I found out that if I can make a vector file of I Quit TV News or something else, if you have another idea, for about for a reasonable price. I'm not totally sure what it's going to be yet, but for a reasonable price, I could have I Quit TV News etched in glass into a mason jar, which will be the first thing I think in my merch store. I feel like if it's not a mason jar, what else would it be? I don't know. It's definitely important to stay hydrated when you are demonetizing your channel, and water is very cheap. On ROKFIN, I went from 0 because I didn't have a ROKFIN channel. I started this a couple weeks ago, and I'm at almost 200 followers. So that's cool. And ODYSEE, I have 722 followers. So all of this is very new, and all thanks to YouTube not bringing in any ad revenue and driving my interest in my business storefront going elsewhere. Now, this is to say that I still see YouTube as a valuable resource, okay? It is the second largest search engine in the world. I'm not going to totally give up on YouTube. However, I am starting to realize that YouTube works really well as your Fifth Avenue, New York, okay? It's a place where people are zooming by. It's a place where people sometimes are screaming at each other. It is a place that you don't want to spend much time necessarily, or you certainly are not going to live there because you can't afford it for multiple reasons. It's not just that the living cost is too high. It's for what you get, the living cost is too high. Okay. Who wants to live on Fifth Avenue? I lived in Manhattan for a year. I would never go back and live in Manhattan ever again, but I certainly wouldn't go live on Fifth Avenue. It's just too much hustle and bustle, too much stress. And so I think YouTube will be a place where you can go window shopping. Hey, I like what Allison does. And then I'm going to go support her on one of the other sites where there's more reward for less risk, if you will. Christoph, please keep doing what you love. You choose to report stories and 89K people subscribe because you were right. At least 11K more will find you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I am going to show you my analytics in a second so that you can take a look at what I saw. It would be awesome if you had something like Super Chats without YouTube. I hate giving them money. I know. I agree. There are YouTube memberships, but they're probably taking a lot too from that. I don't quite know. And thank you guys for all this, for the super chats and for the comments. I'm trying to go through and look at some of the other comments. The super chats come up in bright color, so they're very easy to see. Allison, great interview with Matt Christensen. I subscribed shortly after. You're a great interviewer. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate that. Matt saw my video, and actually this would be probably a great place to show you what we're talking about with those subscriber analytics, because Matt Christensen, if you all are unfamiliar, is a popular YouTuber, does a lot of political commentary. Hang on. I have to show you from my other page. So stand by for me for a second here. He saw my video on the New Mexico officer who was shot and killed on the side of the highway, which I don't know if you guys can explain how that video went far on YouTube, and I don't quite know why, because the video itself was very graphic, and I'm highly aware that YouTube does not like graphic content. So I was actually surprised that YouTube was recommending that. But let's take a quick look, see here. And Matt saw that and then commented on it and actually gave me a really nice shout out on the video that he did about it, because he actually ended up doing a video about the New Mexico officer and told people to go to my page, and it was really nice of him. And so people came over and this is what happened. All right. This, I believe right here, this area is the New Mexico officer area right here. And you can see the green is not subscribed and the blue is subscribed. So this is what was happening for a while before April. See, the green line is not subscribed. So I was basically getting no not subscribed. It was just very minimal. And my subscribers were carrying me through. So usually these bumps are, I'll do an upload. So you see the bump and I'll get about 4,000 to 5,000 of my subscribers will watch each video. And then, but non-subscribers were basically minimal. And then all of a sudden, here we go. And part of that was, I do believe, thanks to Matt Christensen. Also, I got, I've talked about this before, but I got an email the day after. I actually still had the video private. It was on some of my other platforms, but it was not public on YouTube yet, the New Mexico officer. And somehow Steve Bannon, War Room producer, saw it and invited me to go on Steve Bannon's show, which I accepted the invitation for. And a lot of people subscribed after that too. And so now I have swapped here the amount of not subscribed Sorry, I should have put this on the other side because it looks like I'm looking in the opposite direction because of my software. But now I'm the opposite. And I have gained, I think, 4,400 new subscribers in the last month. So, and as you can see, it's changed the analytics from who was watching to new people who are coming, which did not happen before. So, the other videos I think that did well were Patreon suspending Whitney Webb, and I also think that what else did well? Let me take a look. Because I believe, I know, Susan giving herself her own award, basically. No, it was a little bit less sinister than that, but almost. The YouTube sponsored a free expression award, and then YouTube won the award, which is funny. So authoritative sources boosted by YouTube. So that my live stream from last Saturday did pretty well, going through the video that Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, she was talking basically about how they're suppressing independent news channels and boosting authoritative news channels. And she was on the World Economic Forum YouTube channel talking about that. So I did that live stream. So that seems to have done pretty well. And the what else? I did a bunch of lives, which I also, I don't know if they, like Matt Christensen came on and talked about his brother, who was he's a veteran who suffered from severe pain after an attack in Afghanistan and eventually took his own life. And he came on and talked about veteran suicide. It's a topic that's really close to our hearts. In our family, my husband's a veteran, has several friends who have taken their lives after serving the military. You know, it's interesting to see how YouTube will promote sometimes these sensitive topics that they say that, you know, are concerning for them for, you know, any number of reasons, and they demonetize it. So this is kind of my question, and this is what I wonder about. Is it safer for YouTube to recommend your sensitive video if it's demonetized? This is kind of, I guess, the heart of what I'm wondering here with YouTube, is that I had several videos that were very sensitive in nature that did quite well in April. And again, the New Mexico officer one, which has I think almost 80,000 views at this point, that had video in it that was extremely graphic. And so besides the fact that it didn't get yanked, which I was a little concerned that YouTube was just going to yank it altogether, it actually made it in front of a new audience. And so that was sort of my question is, okay, is it possible that if you yourself demonetize videos like that, and then YouTube doesn't have to make the decision about whether advertisers are going to get snippy about whether their ads are running on it, maybe they're more likely to actually promote your demonetized video so they don't have to worry about that stuff. I don't know. I don't really understand, because on other videos that they have demonetized, I've noticed that it gets very little traction. So it's been hard for me to figure out, but you know, ultimately I would say that anti-authoritarianism April was a net positive. As far as revenue is concerned, I would say that I have probably come close to making up what I lost on YouTube on the other platforms. Close. I don't totally think that I'm there yet, but I'm getting closer to that. And so the thing with YouTube is that you have to hustle really hard on YouTube to make a little bit of money. Whereas a lot of these other sites, you can, it's easier for subscribers to give you more or less. So it's not just like you have a rate per view like YouTube, where it's just, it doesn't matter what the viewer wants to give you. They can't really tip you necessarily. I mean, they can on super chats, okay, I guess. But again, YouTube takes 30%. On these other sites, it's a consistent, you can subscribe for more money and they're going to take the same amount. They're not going to take 30% of the super chats. And you know, like on ROKFIN, for instance, I've heard that creators can do really well, even with a small audience, because ROKFIN's a subscriber base. Like you subscribe to the entire platform of ROKFIN, and then you have access to the different creators. And so then whoever you're bringing in, and you get a certain, rate per subscriber there. So that, I don't know, maybe it will get to the point where the other sites are carrying what I lost in YouTube ad revenue. But I will say I feel like it was a worthy experiment. I feel like I learned that it actually was not the disaster that I suspected it would be. Not from the, people going to the other platforms, which I suspected they would do, and they did, and that was a great thing. But I thought that YouTube, it would be a total disaster. And it was from a revenue standpoint, because again, if people hadn't given super chats, I would have made like $100. But from a viewership standpoint, it worked out. And maybe again, I've had several events kind of coincide, being put in front of people who have large audiences and being put in front of their audiences on, channels that have quite a large following. I think that's definitely helped. If that hadn't happened, would I have gained 4,500 or so subscribers? I doubt it. But you know what? Maybe that's not a coincidence. Maybe it all worked out the way it was supposed to. I'm going to take a couple comments here, and then I'm going to probably go soon, simply because it is our daughter's birthday weekend. She's turning a year old, which is a big moment here. We survived the first year of parenthood, which was awesome. If it's the YouTube algo, I think it makes little differences once you get to a certain point. Maybe so. Did you feel more free though? Yeah, I guess I did, in the sense that I didn't have to go through their little checklist and say, no, which, basically, I'm not going to say I'm lying when I say no, but I know that I could check yes on any number one of their sensitive topic list, pieces, because everything I do on this channel fits into one of their demonetization categories, because they have so many demonetization categories. There's one for everything you do, unless you're just knitting live on YouTube. And so, that was nice. I didn't feel like I was going to have to find out that I was going to get the yellow dollar sign, and then I was going to have to get it into YouTube, and they're going to strike my channel for lying or whatever. And because, every time that you upload a video and you say, no, this is fine for advertising, and then they decide it's not fine for advertising, you get on their naughty list, if you know what I mean. You're on their naughty list. They're like, we can't trust this person. She thinks that she's doing easy breezy, gosh, what was that commercial? Easy breezy. Come on, that was a cosmetic commercial. I can't remember it, but I'm not doing that kind of content. And clearly they say that I keep misreading my content, and I need to do better at it. So that was nice, not having to feel like I was, squirming through the system. Happy birthday to the kid. Thank you very much. I'll let her know. Has Lynn put up a full-length video like the See Something, Say Something news interview? No. But Lynn is going to launch his own channel at some point in his life, we think. And so you should definitely keep your eye out for that. Of course, as soon as he launches that channel, I will make sure that you all know about it. We got to push you over 100,000. That would be super cool. I always make fun of my Emmys, but because they should be made fun of. They're dumb awards, but I will totally hang that silver YouTube 100,000 subscriber thing. Is dumb as I would, it's basically kind of as dumb as my Emmys, but because of all the, the controversy on speech suppression, and I get into it all the time on this channel with YouTube, but I will still take it. Okay. I'm still going to take it. I'm not that prideful about everything. How much extra time did it take uploading and dealing? I guess it's supposed to be dealing with other platforms. That's one problem, is that when you're on the other platforms, ODYSEE is going to be co-streaming right now. So it's streaming on the other channel. I don't have to do anything on ODYSEE. ODYSEE's super easy. The one difficulty about ODYSEE is I don't know how you cash out any of your money on ODYSEE. That's a mystery to me. And I don't know if that's generally the mystery of Bitcoin or, cryptocurrency, is like, what if everybody cashes out? What happens to the money? So I don't really quite know how it works there. I've heard that ROKFIN's a little bit easier. But ROKFIN, I do have to do separate uploads. So I have to download the video from YouTube, and then I have to upload it to ROKFIN. Or if I tape it, I have to do a separate upload. Usually on locals, I'm just sharing the link to my YouTube video, but that's not probably the best way to do it, because if YouTube boots the video, then it's gone. But I have been downloading all of my videos, so I have them saved, and StreamYard does that. So I have them all saved in StreamYard, and then and that's been another thing that I invested in this month with StreamYard. Many of you know that I've had some technical difficulties on my channel that my husband has to help me with. He's not always here, so then all kinds of things happen, like you can't hear me, you can't see me, and so I invested in a higher professional level of this software that I am streaming now on. And I think that's helped a lot with the ease of my videos. Congratulations to your adorable producer. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah, thank you guys. I will definitely let her know. Try live knitting a World War II flag from a European country of choice. Knitting will get you in trouble. Yeah, I guess so. You can check the cash reserve on the crypto. There is a stopgap when the cash reserve on the cryptocurrency goes down to 0. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Howdy from Texas, which we're going to visit in 2 weeks. We will be in Texas in 2 weeks. We're going to a wedding, and then I'm going to work with some clients down there. So we're excited to check out Texas. I have a feeling it's going to be very different than Washington State. Hey, you're as good as Andrew Cuomo with your Emmy. Yep. I never did a video about Andrew Cuomo's Emmy, though I probably should have, just because this news cycle moves so fast. I couldn't get on it fast enough. But it's, Emmys are just, especially with news Emmys, news Emmys are different than, like the soap opera shows that win Emmys, or the daytime Emmys, the TV shows that you watch. Like, those are very different than the news Emmys. And I'm pretty sure that's what Cuomo won. He won a news Emmy. We called them news prom when I was in TV. The way that you're judged is, you often will have a station somewhere that says, okay, we're going to have a panel that is volunteered to judge. And then they get the submissions, and then it's like 6 people at a station are watching all the videos. And do they watch them I've been an Emmy judge. Okay. I try to watch the entirety. I'll be honest with you. It was tough, because it's like, some of these entries are like 10, 15 minutes long, and it's like, I gotta watch the whole thing. And so, I know that it's not an objective science. Nobody should look at it that way. I don't think anybody does, but it's just a bunch of your own peers that sit through and look at the videos and decide if they like it or not. That's how the Emmys are judged. And then also you have to pay an exorbitant amount of money to enter the Emmys, to go to the award ceremony. It's a huge pyramid scheme, kind of. It is kind of a pyramid scheme. I hate, I feel kind of bad saying that, because I know that they use some money for scholarships, but I've never really quite understood why it's like $150. Well, first off, okay, if you don't become a member of the Emmys, then it's even more expensive. If you do become a member, then it's like $120 or $130, at least it was when I was submitting, to get the award in. And then if you want to go to the awards banquet, it's like another $150 per plate. So say you want to bring your husband, like in my particular case, guys, I'm here to admit to you that I snuck my husband in. Okay. I snuck him in. I'm sorry, but I'm not paying $300 for us to go to this dinner. And my bosses forced me to go because I was up for an award. You find out if you're a finalist. I was a finalist. My bosses got really mad when I said I wasn't going to go to the banquet, because I don't like going to the banquet. I don't want to pay $150 for food that I could get, a lot more at higher quality from the ranchers down the street, and wine that gives me a headache the next day. I just reject that. But they were like, well, it's embarrassing if you win and you're not there to get it. So the second time that I was up for one, because the first time I went hiking, and I found out after my husband and I had finished hiking, we were at a brewery at the base of the mountain, and the photographer that I worked with on that particular set of stories called and said, we won. And I was like, that's great. And he was wearing a tuxedo in a dark room, and I was sitting out in the sun at the base of a mountain drinking an IPA. That's definitely how I like winning an Emmy, if I'm going to win one at all. The second time, my bosses were like, you have to go, because it was embarrassing that you weren't there. I went, I got a headache. It was terrible food. That was the end of the Emmys for me. And then basically the end of my career, because I quit soon after that. Let's go to some more chats. Any other questions? Hey, Allie's here from the A2 show. I love those guys. You guys go subscribe to their channel. They're awesome. They do some great interviews, and they've been on the channel. Good to see you guys here. You snuck a trained Marine into a black tie affair, and he behaved himself. Barely. I had, it's funny because they only have so many seats. So that was the problem. I had to figure out what to do with him because he didn't have a chair. So I think somebody didn't show up and we just pushed him. We pushed him into the table. Still don't own a TV, not missing anything. No, you're not. My dad just said, he told me that he's a medical doctor, or maybe you saw him on my channel once. He and my mom got rid of television because cable news was making them too stressed out, and they were worried that it was going to hurt their immune system and potentially they would get COVID. Not really. It wasn't really a COVID thing, but it was just like, we're going to get some kind of disease by watching TV news. Like that, their medical minds were like, it is that bad. TV news is that bad. Even though our daughter makes it, we are going to be cutting the cord and we are not going to watch TV news anymore, even though we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in Allison's education so that she could do this. But I never studied, I guess hundreds of thousands is probably an exaggeration. Let's call it like college was very expensive. I got a full ride to graduate school, which was helpful. And I don't think I would have gone if I hadn't. All right. I'm going through a few more. And then would we like to talk about, let's see what time it is, 5. Yeah, I probably should go. But I was thinking about talking about the lady who quit the New York Post, saying she had to write a fake story about Kamala Harris. Do we want to talk about that? Do we want to talk about that? Because I could upload that as a separate video and then cut it from the live stream. So if people are watching this later and you don't see the New York Post chat, you'll just have to keep an eye out for it. Should we talk about it? Monetize a YouTube channel for your soft topics. For your more controversial topics, do a soft video for YouTube, but direct anyone else to go to the other sites. Keep up the good work. Yeah, I mean, I've thought about just like, instead of just monetizing everything from here on out, monetizing the ones that I think are not going to be hair on the back of your neck, standing up, dealing with YouTube videos. Maybe that's the way to do it. Okay. I sub to you this month from Viva Barnes. Maybe a different podcast. Okay, funny story. I was traveling a couple weeks ago, about a week after I was on Viva Barnes Sidebar, and I was in the middle of nowhere. I was in a town with a population of about, I think, 600 people. And it's on the Columbia River. It's gorgeous. Central Washington, North Central Washington. And I was going for a work trip and I brought my daughter with me. And so, just get out and stretch because it was a 4-hour drive. We stop at this park in this town in the middle of nowhere on the river with, again, like a few hundred people who live there. And we lost our dog. Many of you know we lost our dog 6 weeks ago. And so every time my daughter sees a dog, she just wants to pet the dog because we don't have a dog right now. And so this guy was walking his dog and I asked if we could pet the dog. Dog was nice. And, oh yeah, sure. Dog is nice. And so we start petting the dog and I said, well, thank you very much. I'm Allison. And he said, Allison with 1 L. And I said, yes. How did you know that? And he said, I just saw you on Viva and Barnes. So it was really funny. It was in the middle of nowhere. And the guy had totally seen me on Viva and Barnes. And he knew that I had 1 L in my name. You guys survived the first year. You can't return the producer at this point. You guys are stuck with them. Yeah. Yeah. She's getting better and better as a producer. So we're going to keep her. We're going to keep her. Just appreciate the work you do. Thank you. Thank you guys for the super chats. Okay. I'm not totally seeing if we want to talk about the New York Post. So maybe we just won't and we'll all just go. And I don't know if Lynn is listening. I see him out in the garage, but the producer is awake. She just woke up. I can hear her in the control room. So I don't know if you want to come in and grab her. Yes, we do. We want to talk about it. Okay. We've gotten a couple. I've gotten one. Yes, talk about the New York Post. Okay. We'll finish it here. We're going to finish it with the New York Post. If you are watching this on YouTube, okay, Lynn's going to get the producer. If you're watching this on YouTube after this live stream and the video ends in a few seconds, it's because the New York Post video is going to be a separate video and I'm cutting it from this live stream. And I think I'll probably upload it to YouTube, but maybe I'll upload it to only my other platforms. I'll decide that. It's my day, May Day, now that it's, I don't know. And I don't even know if I should remonetize or not. So that's another big question.